Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be watching or listening to us from. Welcome to the Talent Plug podcast, a space where we unravel extraordinary stories behind talent across the marketplace. So, I'm your host, Francis Mulumba, and on this episode, I have a very interesting guest and very interesting topic as well that we'll be discussing. So, my guest on the show in this episode is Kunda Ndashe. Kunda, welcome to the Talent Plug podcast.
Thank you so much, Francis. I'm honored to be here.
Awesome. So, like I said, Kunda, in this episode, we explore talents across every sector within the industry. So, whatever you can think of, this is the kind of space that we just bring those stories to light. And I thought to myself, look, I've got this friend who's a colleague in a sense,
Yeah.
and he's in a space that is very interesting. So I thought to myself, this is somebody that we have to explore on the show, and very privileged to have you.
No, thank you for
So
having me.
you're welcome. So Kunda is a veterinary doctor, and he's specialized in aquatic animal health, a space which is not very common, and he's going to talk about it in just a bit to just explain what the space is all about and what kind of work he does. But before we get into this conversation, Kunda, I really just want to have you speak into yourself,
Yeah.
just as a person and what kind of upbringing that you had, so that we have a better understanding of what led you to pursue a discipline in this space.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Francis. So, my upbringing, I was born and raised in Ndola. So, I'm a Kopala by,
Kopala,
to the
nice
bone,
one.
yeah.
Right.
So, I attended my primary school, that is Ndola Modern, then went to Consensus Secondary. Senior secondary, I then went to boarding school, Hillcrest in Livingston. Um, I came from a very good home, very privileged, I should say.
Mhm.
Um, Privileged in the sense that I had the opportunity to be raised by both my mom and my dad. Having to grow older, you come to realize that that's pretty much of a privilege. Um, and my parents were, well, they did give us quite a lot of liberty to make decisions on our own, but at the same time, they did expect quite a lot from you in terms of your decision making, academically as well. And yeah, so that's pretty much my background in a short
Right.
description. Yeah.
Nice one. And I'm also just interested to find out, is this space something that you always thought about when you were young and when you were in high school and you're like, I'm going to be a doctor one day? Is it something that you had been preparing to do, or is it something that, you just got to discover along the way?
Okay. So my story is rather very funny.
Right.
Very funny in the sense that I will begin as a kid in Ndola, and through my dad, I was introduced to the public library, I think in grade 4.
Okay.
So during my time at Ndola Public Library, and it's now sort of my, I make, we can call it like a pilgrim. Each time I go to Ndola, I actually spend a couple of days just walking to the library to. So anyway, back in the day, I then would read quite a lot of books on engineering, on economics, on medicine, in trying to make a decision on what I could be after I, finished high school. In grade 8, I kind of leaned more on being an architect because I was very good at technical drawing. And the technical drawing is what actually led me to Hillcrest. I believe I got one of the best marks in technical drawing in the Copperbelt province.
Nice.
That I did not do so well well, I passed the other subjects, but because of technical drawing, I found myself at Hillcrest. So junior secondary, I thought I could be an architect. Senior secondary, still thinking, what could I do? I still remember one specific day, I'd escorted mom to get groceries, and she asked me what I wanted to study.
Okay.
Then I said I wanted to be a lawyer. Reason being, one of our neighbors in our neighborhood was a very thriving lawyer. He had all the nice cars,
Yes.
and at that specific moment, he was driving past by where we'd parked, and I pointed to him and I said, "I want to be a lawyer like that man." And life so happened that at that very moment, there was another gentleman that was walking, not looking too good. Then mom said he's a lawyer as well. And then
Right.
so it kind of ignited a particular thought that say, it's not quite what you study, but it's what you do with what you study.
Nice.
So that was a lesson that I had quite early. Came to university, made up my mind that I was going to study engineering.
Okay.
That was in the first year. But then so happened that I passed first semester, going into second semester. I lost my elder sister during the vacation. And at the time that she passed away, she left a stethoscope. So she was a nurse.
Okay.
So she left the stethoscope. And I was thinking, how do you do that to me?
Yeah.
So I then changed my mind to study medicine. So at the University of Zambia, I then went second year. I made it to what they would call at the time med quota.
Okay.
So they would pick. I think in my intake they selected about 75
Okay.
of the best students. I was privileged to make it amongst the 75. Third year, we went, then migrated to go to Ridgeway campus. I did not quite fit in. Reason being, I did not do what was expected of me at the time.
Right.
So those are other lessons that I came to learn quite early, that in every environment that you go in, learn the rules of engagement in that environment for you to thrive.
Right.
I was still operating as though I was still at Great East campus, being a naive student, Friday, still party,
Yes.
and, wasn't studying like my friends were. So in the first semester of medical school, I was excluded. Yeah, so that was pretty much of a blow. Spent a good 6 months at home, and that 6 months
Must have been hard, eh?
it was very hard.
Yeah.
It was a period of refocusing. I did lose my way quite a bit, but I'm so grateful for having very strong parents.
Nice.
In particular, my mom, she pushed me to sanity, It so happened that during that period when I was out of university, she kind of helped me find a job in the bank. So I was like a clerk in the bank, But then when you wear a tie, nobody knows what you're doing inside,
Exactly.
And the bank at the time thought to offer me a full-time job.
Okay.
But mom came over and said, dude, all you have is a grade 12 certificate. You being excluded from university didn't mean that you came out with anything.
Yes.
But then you see, my friends then who had done accounts and all these other programs were already about to graduate, and others are already graduated and making some money.
Yes.
And I felt the need to say, you know what, I need to make money.
Right.
I had a very serious argument with mom, and she gave me an ultimatum. He said, go back to university, study whatever you can. And, it was hard. So I had to quit my job,
Right.
Full-time pensionable job, to go back and find a place in university. So since my first year results were really good, I qualified to go into several schools.
Okay.
So I first went to the School of Natural Sciences because besides medicine, I thought I could study chemistry because I loved chemistry at the time. I went to School of Natural Sciences. The gentleman who was assistant dean undergraduate at the time, didn't receive me quite well. He just, he was quite rude.
Okay.
Basically said, we don't want failures here. I walked to the School of Engineering, and the School of Engineering says, we could take you, but
yeah,
you need to repeat first year, second semester.
Wow.
Because at the time, when you go into second semester, those students that were going to study engineering did a different type of physics and a different type of mathematics for physical sciences. I thought, should I repeat first year? No, because then I was thinking my friends are graduating. my friends will be making money.
I'm lagging.
And then
Yeah.
first year, no. Went to the School of Mines. So the School of Mines, the secretary then says, great, we would like to take you. But the person to write you an admission letter is out in Siavonga attending a workshop. And it was like a 1 week period when, admissions could kind of take,
Yes.
Then I thought, okay, what do I do? Went to School of Agric. Same thing. We would like to take you, but the person to help you with admissions is at the workshop in Siavonga. Then finally, I went to the School of Vet Medicine.
Okay.
And it was just, I needed to find something to study.
Right.
I couldn't go back home because mom told me, if you don't get back to university, you and I can't talk. And went to the School of Vet, spoke with the secretary. She kind of showed me to go to a particular office and talk to a certain man.
Yes.
And I get to the office and I'm talking to this man, explaining to him what my predicament is and how I need to come back to university. He wasn't even looking at me. And I'm thinking, dude.
Yeah, this is my life. My life right here.
No, but he was doing something amazing for me at the time.
Okay.
So he was writing a note.
Okay.
Then he took the paper and said, do you see this letter? Write it to me. They had already done selection for local students. They were making a selection for international students.
Okay.
So I was considered amongst the international students.
Wow.
Now, at the time, then I was on government bursary, so it meant that I lost my bursary. And so that's how I found myself in the School of Vet.
That's a very interesting story.
To that, my first 2 years in the School of Vet, I kind of didn't like what I was doing. I just felt like, no, I should have been in the School of Medicine. What am I doing here?
Right.
And there's a place. So in third year, we went for attachments.
Okay.
And those attachments were what we call farm attachments. And I was placed at Zambia National Service in Samba. And I always tell my family about the stone. So this particular stone at the road, we walk from the camp and I would sit along Great North Road and just watch cars.
Okay.
That's after days work.
Yes.
And on that particular stone, one day, I just told myself to say, if you don't love what you're doing, you will then be stuck with this. I remember the conversation I had with mom.
Right.
When, the two lawyers.
Yes.
The conversation came back to me to say, it's not what you study, but it's what you do with what you study. Ever since then, when I made up my mind that I was going to love what I do, that was, I think, about 2006.
Right.
The road has not been easy, but it's been amazing.
It's been amazing.
It's been amazing.
That's an amazing story, Kunda. Just listening to the different avenues that you've traveled to arrive to a point where you said, look, I'm gonna do this regardless, and I'm gonna love it.
Yep.
I think that's just amazing.
Yep.
So I'd like for you to just speak into the discipline itself, because there are a lot of myths and misconceptions out there around what a vet does or who a vet is. What kind of distinction there is between this field and the actual human, medicine kind of study. So can you just speak into a vet and the discipline itself?
Okay, great. Awesome. So one thing we need to learn is that a veterinarian is a doctor of humanity. Not humans, but humanity.
Right.
We fix everything else other than a human being. So any animal that you can think of, there's a veterinarian who's trained for that animal. So when you look at the vet profession, there are different specializations.
Okay.
So for myself, I was privileged to do a master's in virology, specializing in a poultry disease.
Okay.
And I did a doctor of philosophy, specializing in a fish disease. So through my career, I've had, quite a number of movements from, working with chickens. At some point, I worked in the government.
Right.
Then I worked in lecturing, now doing aquatic animals. So the vet profession is quite diverse. Now, what do vets do?
Yes.
So vets really, we can kind of divide it into what we may call small animal and large animal.
Okay.
Small animal being the pets.
Mm.
So with the pets, we make sure that your pets are healthy,
Yes.
right? With the large animals, we also ensure that they're healthy. But one thing that the vet also does is prevent the transmission of zoonotic infections.
Okay.
So these are infections that can be transmitted from animals to human beings,
Mm.
but also from human beings to
To animals.
animals.
Okay.
Right? So let's talk about things such as avian influenza.
Okay.
Avian influenza, as the name stipulates, bird flu coming from birds. The vets, should I say, are the frontline staff
Okay.
that will treat the animals and prevent the transmission of the disease to human beings.
Mm.
More importantly, I mean, vets are the the strong force behind the livestock sector.
Right.
I mean, if you're going to enjoy your steak today, your chicken, there has to be somebody that ensures that the animals are healthy.
Mm.
So vets then stand in to ensure that, we prevent any disease from coming to your farm. And if your animals got sick, we also then prevent, further losses.
Okay.
But more importantly, vets, like most especially in our country, have bordered on the One Health. So One Health, this is a concept where we look at human health, animal health, and environmental health.
Okay.
And vets have been quite pivotal in, holding that together. Vets are involved in quite a lot of research. I mean, if I should use this fora to mention that
Yes.
during the COVID outbreak, some of my mentors and senior colleagues did help quite a lot in diagnosing COVID.
Nice.
So, the certificates that you would get,
Yes.
They do a COVID test and tell you, no, Francis, you're COVID free, you can fly. Vets were behind that.
Nice.
Quite a lot of it.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's, many spheres that a vet can fit in, and you can run with it. I mean, I just kind of mentioned earlier to say I've been very privileged, I should say, in the sense that in the past 13, 14 years that I've been practicing,
Right.
to have experienced, I think, 4 or 5 careers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Within the space?
Within this space. So the first thing I did, I worked as a poultry veterinarian.
Okay.
So this is where we help chicken farmers. So I had an opportunity to work with companies such as Crossbreeders and the like. Then the next space, which was rather quote unquote a dumb decision.
Okay.
I quit my job
Okay.
to become an entrepreneur
Oh, wow.
without preparing.
I like that.
Right.
It's the preparation that made it dumb.
Yes.
Or lack of.
Yeah. So, and it's some of the lessons that I came to learn later on in my career that, the particular spaces that you're going to be in, which will attract people because you are in a particular space. So I had clients, my private clients, when I worked in race, and I thought they came to me because it was me.
Yes.
But they felt that I offered them a world-class service because I was with the world-class company.
Right. It wasn't the individual.
No, it wasn't it. So I quit my job, then only survived for 3 months. The month I was about to starve, the heavens opened, and all of a sudden, I was employed by the government. So I worked as a district veterinary officer in Kankata, then later on transferred to Siavonga. In Siavonga, that's when I was introduced to aquaculture. It was fun, and I took it up. During that time, I was completing my master's degree. Then I felt the need to kind of switch careers. So I resigned from the government to join lecturing. So I worked at Lusaka Apex Medical University, where I served for 4 years as a lecturer in microbiology and other courses. So I lectured students that were pursuing a degree in environmental health.
Okay.
But sometimes I would also lecture students that were pursuing a degree in medicine. Yeah. After that, then, kind of then went full time or went deep in the aquatic animal space, which was fish. So took up an opportunity with, I think, the largest fish farm in sub-Saharan Africa, Yalelo. So worked with them for 2 years. After that, took up an opportunity with my current employer, Crocodile Producers Consortium, where I manage research and manage veterinarians in 3 countries.
Okay.
So that is Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Kenya.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's quite broad in terms of, the different disciplines that you've applied yourself in. And very interesting that you've brought out the different aspects of what a vet does, because I think, the layman like myself would obviously just look for a vet whenever my pet needs vaccinations.
But Dr. Vambwa.
But Dr. Vambo, as they say. Yeah, or when, you just need to make sure that the food that you're consuming is up to standard. That's the only time that I get to think of a vet. So very interesting to hear you break down just the different aspects of what a vet does. What advice would you give, individuals who have, pets around the home, dogs, cats, birds. I remember I had 2 parrots at the time, and I pretty much just gave them food and water.
Yeah.
I totally neglected the aspect of just having them healthy and all that. So I'd like for you to just speak into why it is important for you to just make sure that the pets that you have within your homes are always healthy.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. So I think one of the things that we advocate as veterinarians is responsible pet ownership.
Right.
One of the things that are pretty common in this part of the world is that our pets are really, number one, meant for security.
Yes.
Number two, as a way of, getting rid of, like finishing off the scraps of the table, something that eats the scraps off the table. But responsible pet ownership entails that your animal has to be healthy, and animal being healthy means it needs to have vaccinations.
Okay.
It has to be regularly dewormed. The animal has to be washed and cleaned. Absence to that, mainly for the cats and dogs, you will note that there are diseases that can be transmitted from your pet to you, and most especially your kids. Because our kids then tend to play in close contact with the pets. Yeah. So there are particular diseases that are really transmissible from the pet to human beings. And therefore, your responsibility is to ensure that the animal is properly vaccinated, properly dewormed, gets adequate nutrition. One of the diseases that really is quite devastating is rabies. And it's pretty embarrassing sometimes, even when you're talking to individuals that can easily afford a vaccination,
right?
But they wouldn't vaccinate their dog. But forgetting that if that really nice breed that you have in your home is exposed to a stray dog that has rabies, you are then exposing everyone in the home.
Yes.
And the unfortunate part about rabies is that we don't yet have a treatment to it. It's a viral infection.
Wow.
Yeah. So we can give post-exposure prophylaxis, but once you've passed the window period, for post-exposure prophylaxis, it's one way to the break.
Yeah, it's a very deadly disease, I've been told. So I'd also just like to speak into, because we're still on the aspect of pets.
Yes.
There has been a very huge influx of different breeds in the recent past.
Yes.
And I know for the majority of the people, it's all about the appearance. The dog is looking cute. Sometimes it's about the different the different kinds of strength that the dog has. Like you talked about security, like this dog is probably gonna provide that kind of security we need in the home. Can you just speak into whether this crossbreeding is a safe practice? Is it something that, we should embrace? Or is there something we should be looking out to, something we should be cautious about when it comes to these crossbreeding?
Okay, cool. No, thank you so much. So I think with breeding as well, there are particular ethics around breeding, and there has to be regulation around it. So you will note that there's some breeds that are predisposed to particular conditions due to their body stature
Yes.
and whatnot, So there are some breeds that are predisposed to heart failures, right? So at a particular point in their life, they will, have quite a lot of
Yes.
heart problems. There are others, like the Dutch hounds, who will have quite a lot of spinal problems and whatnot. So one of the things that we really, really need to pay particular attention to is just the regulation on it.
Okay.
And also with the customers themselves, we need to understand when it comes to the selection of a breed that you want, you need to understand, number one, your environment, right? The particular breeds that are not too friendly to have with kids around.
Yes.
I'm sure there's lots of stories around where, this particular dog went and mauled these kids and whatnot.
Yes.
So that then falls as a responsibility of the dog owner,
Mm.
because a dog can't make a decision to say, oh, today I'm not biting.
Right.
It's a dog. So the owner has then to understand the type of environment that they're in and what type of dog that they will need to have. Other dogs are meant for outdoors. I mean, so I haven't seen a greyhound here yet, but let's assume you have a greyhound and you're keeping that in your home.
Yes.
That dog is meant to be an outdoor dog. So if you keep it in the house, the dog is going to really mess up your home.
Yes.
Why? Because it has so much stored up energy, which it has to be using outside the home. So I think in summary, what I could mention is just two things: responsible dog breeding and also responsible dog ownership. I may not have quite a large input in that.
Right.
Reason being, I haven't practiced quite a lot in small animal practice.
Right.
A quick joke on that. Think about 5 years ago,
Yes.
6 years ago, one of my neighbors learned that I was a veterinarian.
Okay.
So their dog, I think, was bitten by another dog from the neighborhood. So they came to my place saying, doctor, we hear you're a vet. I'm a dog. So I told them, okay, park the dog at the back of my car. And I took them to a vet. I told them, if you came with fish and crocodiles, I could help. I could help you out. Small animal, not
no,
me.
but that's great insight, though. I love that. So I think let's just tilt to aquaculture and fisheries,
Yes.
because this is something that I think you're passionate about.
Yes.
And something that you're actually practicing.
Yeah.
There has been a growing trend in Zambia as well, to venture into the aquaculture space.
Mm-hmm.
You hear a lot of fish farmers coming up now.
Yes.
You have a lot of people asking questions around what it takes to be successful in the fish farming space. Why has it become so lucrative?
Okay, so there's several factors to that. Number one, the population is growing. That's the first thing. Now, due to the population growing, the demand for fish also increases. So previously, our main source for fish protein or fish itself was what we call capture fisheries,
Right.
where they catch the fish. You have these fishermen that will go into a river or a lake, they will catch the fish and bring it to the market. Now, when you look at the trends, they've sort of plateaued in the past about 10 years.
Yes.
Reason being due to poor fishing practices, but also the demand for protein, has really increased. Now, in order for us to supply more fish protein to the population, we then have to engage in aquaculture. And one of the things you will notice that as Zambia, we're blessed with very large water bodies,
yes.
right? I mean, almost every province has a lake
Yes.
and whatnot. So this then provides a very good opportunity for aquaculture and fish farming in the country. Secondly, you will note that we are centrally located. So
Yes.
we produce our fish here. We can easily export that to several markets, such as the Congo, um, Malawi, and several other countries
Yes.
within the region. So with that, it showed quite a huge potential for aquaculture. So there's been several investments in the sector, both private and government. I think the last large investment by the government was through what we called the Zambia Aquaculture Enterprise Development Project,
Okay.
ZADEP. That was an AU funded project where I think actually, if I'm not mistaken, about $53 million. So what that project concentrated on was number one, funding individuals in the fish farming space. Number two, growing the capacities of
Okay.
individuals in the fish farming space. Number three, also growing technical expertise of individuals in that space. And I was privileged to be sponsored by them to pursue my Doctor of Philosophy.
Nice.
I was, you're paid for by the government. So, proud Zambian, yeah?
Of course. Nice.
Yeah, so with that, what the government was doing is creating a holistic approach to growing the industry. Because for some time, with the deficit that we experienced as a country, there were quite a lot of importations of tilapia
Yes.
that were coming from the Far East. But, with the increase in production, I foresee a time where we will import less and less of tilapia from the Far East.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in terms of the species that we focus on in the aquaculture space, I know you've talked about tilapia. Are we moving to other species as well, or for now that's like pretty much what we're focusing on?
Okay, great. So we have several species, all in the tilapias.
Right.
So the broiler is the now tilapia.
Okay.
Right. So we have then Orychromis macrocha, Orychromis andersoni, which are the three-spot tilapia, the red-head tilapia, and the likes. Now tilapia is, so when you look at Zambia, we grow now tilapia, Lusaka going southwards.
Okay.
Right. Going up north, we are growing the other tilapia species. Reason being, tilapia was originally not very indigenous to Zambia.
Okay.
And the species is rather quite dominant when it escapes from a fish farm. When it starts breeding with the wild fish,
Yes.
it then starts distorting the biodiversity. Hence,
what's the danger of that?
So the danger of that is that we will lose, the natural genetics of the fish in the wild.
Okay.
So we'll have quite a lot of,
stray fish.
no, kind of. If we can put it that way.
Yeah.
So we have seen quite support with the government as well, in that now tilapia is what we call gift, which is genetically improved farm tilapia.
Okay.
So over the years, they've bred the fish so that you can have a 500-gram fish within a space of 6 months.
Okay.
Now, with our other local breeds, through government support and research which is being done at the National Aquaculture Research Development Center, if I'm not mistaken, in Kitwe, in Mwekera.
Okay.
They're doing quite a lot of research in improving the other local breeds.
Okay.
And there's been quite a lot of input there, even by several organizations. I know there's a project by should be the EU, Zambia Aquaculture Project. They're also into breed improvement of the local breeds. So that then we could reach a point where our local breeds are able to grow competitively with the now tilapia. But besides that, catfish as well, is being grown under aquaculture. I mean, just some research that we were working on with some colleagues a couple of weeks back. The responses that we got is that about 5% of farmers that responded to our questionnaire
Yes.
are keeping catfish, are rearing catfish in ponds. So which is a win for Zambia.
Okay. Nice. So my next question is basically trying to find out, some of the challenges that you encounter,
Mhm.
or some of the challenges that are out there in maintaining the health of farmed fish.
Yeah.
Can you just tell us some of the challenges that are in the space?
Okay, so I think the biggest challenge has been for the commercial farms
Yes.
has been disease due to very high stocking densities.
Mm.
So you will note that for the big guys, they will keep fish either in ponds or cages
Yes.
at a very high stocking density. What do we mean stocking density? The number of fish per square
Yes.
meter. Now, with that, then brings issues to do with stress, and also with that brings issues to do with very high bacterial proliferation.
Mm-hmm.
What do I mean by that? Bacteria easily
You just had to
grows.
clarify that, man. You just had to. My
Yeah.
mind is racing, but I still can't get an answer.
you know. So what we mean by that in a very small space, you will have even bacteria that shouldn't thrive, it will thrive very well because in that water body you have feeds that you're throwing
Yes,
in
yes.
to feed the fish,
Mm.
but not everything is consumed, so it makes that environment very conducive. At the same time, the fish is going to the toilet
Right.
in the
right.
same water.
Mm.
So that environment just makes it very conducive for bacteria to grow. So
Mm.
if the fish is at very high stocking density, you see quite a bit of disease there.
Okay.
But it's important to note that solutions are there, and as a country, we are moving towards uh, providing and creating those solutions.
Mm.
I have a couple of colleagues one of my colleagues at the university. She's actually studying, she's developing a vaccine, that will be used by fish farmers on Lake Kariba, and they will look at other ways of actually administering that vaccine outside possible injection.
Nice.
So there's quite a lot of research
Yes.
underway in trying to provide solutions to that. Now, that's for the commercial guys. For the small scalers, I think, in my view, the biggest challenge had been um, knowledge.
Okay.
And knowledge in the sense of knowledge can be acquired in two ways. Number one, you can actually learn yourself, or
Okay.
number two, you can hire someone who knows. So with the small scalers, the challenge of knowledge has been that them understanding the dynamics of the aquaculture business,
Mm.
the do's and don'ts. Yes, they've learned how to feed your fish. They've learned how to design a pond. They've learned
Yes.
all these other basic nitty-gritties. But, you know, producing at a profitable level goes beyond those basics.
Mm.
So some of the things that we've noticed too, even with our interaction with farmers, on Lake Kariba and in other places, that is the small scale farmers. I think the biggest challenge has been on the knowledge aspect,
Okay.
being able to do the right thing at the right time
Yes.
to get the right profitability.
Mm.
So like I've mentioned, knowledge you can get that in two ways. Either you take yourself to learn,
Yes.
or you hire somebody that knows.
Mm.
So the big companies they hire people that know
Yes.
to execute, and they give them KPIs. But for the small scalers, they will just pick somebody from the village and just give the person instructions, feed, and watch the fish.
Exactly.
So even when fish start, showing particular clinical signs and whatnot, they will not understand
They don't know
what that
what's
is.
going on. Yeah.
Yeah, but through some help that we've gotten as well, through several projects and through one of my mentors, Professor Bernard Hangombe, who's currently serving as Deputy Vice Chancellor at the Copperbelt University. We've been to farmers in Siavongo on several occasions, training them
Okay.
on disease identification. We've trained them on just several aspects of biosecurity, so that they pretty much maximize the knowledge that we have
Yes.
in improving their practice. So I'll give an example. About 3 months ago, This was 2 months after we had trained them. So we just went through to conduct some research,
Okay.
which was different from the lectures that we had given the farmers and the farm workers. I find this guy and he's practicing what we taught them. I was very excited.
Right.
And he tells me, no, we haven't seen mortality, we haven't done this, we
Yeah.
are doing what you told us and we're seeing the benefit.
Yes.
That was,
Nice.
really
Nice.
great to see.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, like I said, the potential of the aquaculture space in Zambia is there. It's really
Yeah.
growing. But I'd like for you to just speak into the potential itself. Like, what is the potential of the aquaculture sector in Zambia?
Mhm.
And I'd like for you to just speak into some of the drawbacks that we have and some of the challenges that we're facing in this space.
Okay. So, opportunity is vast in the sense that when we look at our deficit for fish protein, if I'm not mistaken, it should be roughly about 100,000 tons.
Okay.
That's a
Wow.
deficit.
Wow.
That's the amount of fish that we require.
Right.
Now, if we are going to open fish farms
Mm.
to meet that demand, that's a lot of employment.
Mm.
So the opportunity is vast. Now the challenges, I think currently challenges, will go into kind of setup costs
Right.
and also issues to do with feed prices and other inputs. I think those have kind of hindered the small and medium scale in getting into the industry.
Mm.
Some of the things we've noticed is that I think, which takes me back to issues of adequate knowledge,
Okay.
right? Is that for the small scalers, for some of them, they will only run 2 cycles.
Mm.
What do I mean by 2 cycles? They will only grow or use the facilities to grow fish 2 times.
Okay.
Where they get the fingerling until it's harvested.
Yes.
They only do that 2 times, and the third, some of them are out of business.
Mm.
Why? Due to issues to do with feed prices and the like. But I'm very optimistic looking at some of the interventions that the government is putting in place. With the stabilizing of the kwacha against the dollar.
Yes.
That should be able to help most of our fish farmers even plan better.
Mm.
So focused, I think we are coming into better days
Okay.
soon. One of the things that our small scalers just need to do is get their game right.
Right.
You need to be ready to say, okay, everything is now as we thought it would be, but are we ready with our human resource? Are we ready with our marketing and all those things, right? Because, the other challenge that you would note with the small scalers is all they will do is just grow the fish.
That's it.
Not understanding what the market is. I would have conversations with some small scale farmers and I would ask them, okay, your fish is 50 grams. Where's your fish going to go to?
Mm-hmm.
And the guy would say, when the fish is 400 grams, I'll figure it out. No, you can't figure it out then. Figure it out now.
Right.
Something I learned when I was in the poultry industry was that before you put your chicken in the poultry house, that small day-old chicken,
Yes.
before you place it in the poultry house, you need to know where it's going to go.
Mm.
If you don't, then don't.
Yeah, then don't start.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that I think with our small scalers, that it's the Zambian term, fiala is over.
Yes.
But in business, the fee is over. You need to have a plan. So marketing as well, that guys will really need to work on that, mainly for the small scalers.
Yes.
What we've noticed for some small scalers is that they've actually been losing out on great opportunity in the sense that some individual is going to come and I will buy your fish lower than your production cost. But the fact is, I'm giving you lump sum.
Yes.
And the thing about fish is that you can't harvest it, and if you don't like my price, then we'll take it back in the water. No. Once it's out of the water, and I say, I'll take it for this amount, then it's gone. Yeah. So the aspect of marketing and whatnot for the small scalers, I think those are some of the areas that, going forward, we could look into strengthening them
Yes.
and strengthening the value chain post-harvest for the small scalers.
Absolutely.
Because some of them are losing quite a bit of money because they do not plan and they do not understand the market dynamics and how things are working in that space. Yeah.
Okay, so the last thing on the aquaculture space, where do you see this space in the next, say, 5-10 years?
Yeah.
What kind of growth do you think we're going to experience?
I think we're going to have phenomenal growth.
Okay.
Phenomenal growth in the sense that I have been seeing quite a lot of investment potential, and also individuals coming in asking about the industry.
Yes.
I don't think people would come and ask when there's nothing there.
Definitely not.
So currently, the big guys on the market are increasing their capacity. And also, we have some other big guys also coming in.
Yes.
Right? So for me, that shows me that for the industry, it's only going upwards and getting better. Like I mentioned at the beginning of our conversation, is that Zambia, we are centrally located and we have vast water resources. Yes, somebody today will say, no, we are facing a drought.
Yes.
The drought won't be there forever. In the next coming years, we will have rains, which takes us back again to large vast water resources.
Not to divert your thought, now that you're speaking about the drought and what we've been experiencing over the last couple of years, how has it affected aquaculture?
So affecting aquaculture, that affects it in several ways, but I would want to narrow it down to disease management. So for guys that are growing fish in ponds, right? If they're using boreholes as a source of water, most of the boreholes are drying up.
Right.
So which then means that they won't have enough water for exchange. So which therefore means that fish stays in bad water for a long time, which then predisposes them to parasites, ammonias, phosphates, and whatnot, which eventually stress the fish, and the fish would die, and also reduced oxygen and all those things. In the lake, when the water levels drop, it then means that the microbial concentration, the cubic meter of water, also increases. So which then means that these fish are exposed to more pathogens per area. So that then means that there is quite a little bit more disease there. And with the interaction that we've been having with a couple of guys on the lake, they've actually attributed that there's been quite an increase in disease outbreaks, something that we had recorded in 2015 at the time when I think one of the turbines were just added to the dam. So there was a very high water usage, which led to the water levels dropping, but they did not drop as bad as it is now. So for the drought has had slight of a negative impact, which points much to a disease. But then that ultimately then affects productivity and profitability of a company.
Okay. All right. So I think we can now just divert and speak into biosecurity and public health. We're going to use a few technical jargons that are foreign to our listeners and viewers. So even before we dive into something, I'd like for you to just give a little bit of a definition or explain what that entails, so that we just carry everyone along. I only know this because I did my research. So it's not like I'm smart or anything.
Now, after this podcast, we will give you a certificate then.
Not a problem. So I'd like for you to just explain why biosecurity is important in your field, and also just explain the importance of how it affects zoonotic diseases.
Okay, great. So biosecurity. So let's begin with a definition, which is biosecurity. Biosecurity is a systems that we put in place to prevent introduction of a disease pathogen, which is bacteria, virus, or whatever germ it is, introducing it to the farm, or it being transmitted from one section of the farm to the next, or it being transported out of your farm.
Okay.
So those are systems that you put in place. So I will use a chicken farm as an example.
Right.
So with a chicken farm, depending on the level of intensiveness, number one biosecurity feature is that they won't allow any person to just walk in. Yeah. Number two, if you are allowed to walk in, there's the foot bath that you walk in.
Yes.
You wash your hands. There's the fencing and all those things. What are we trying to do? We're trying to prevent disease entering your farm. Other biosecurity measures would include things to do with vaccination. So back to chickens again.
Yes.
Sorry. We vaccinate chicken, right? So this is a way to kind of protect the chicken. If there was that virus or bacteria that would come into the flock, they would find the chickens more protected, right? So that is biosecurity. Now, biosecurity is extremely, and I repeat, extremely important. And one of the challenges with farmers is that for some farmers that don't understand the value of biosecurity, they will not invest in it. So biosecurity is like insurance. It kind of feels crappy to pay for your comprehensive insurance if you're not in an accident.
Right.
You think every year I'm paying this company.
Yeah,
now the day that
happens,
yes, now the day that one of these cheaper drivers comes and runs into your vehicle.
Right.
Then you realize that insurance is extremely important. Same thing with biosecurity.
Okay.
So biosecurity comes with it a level of investment.
Okay.
You need to buy dips. That's disinfectants, sorry. You need to buy disinfectants. You need your employees need to have work suits that they use on the farm. They need to have gumboots. You need to have fencing. There's quite a number of things that you need to put in place. For some farmers, they feel that's not important.
Right.
Only until they experience an outbreak. Now, the problem is for some diseases, outbreaks sometimes will cause 100% mortality. Like 100%, your animals are all dead.
Yes.
You walk into a chicken run and zilch.
There's nothing.
There's one particular client who, that was in 2015, invited me to their chicken farm.
Okay.
And they had a disease called infectious bursal disease, Gumboro. And, well, we get to the farm, and this gentleman had a farm that had a capacity of 250,000 broilers, and he was losing about 100 to 200 chickens per hour.
Wow.
Yeah. Like when you walk in the poultry house, guys are just picking dead chickens.
Wow.
Dead chickens. And so I sat there because the thing is, the doctors arrived. You have to find a solution.
Yes.
You have to crack your mind. And the unfortunate part for me was that for my master's degree, I did Gumboro.
Okay.
So I needed to know.
Yes.
So we did some basic tests. And one of the basic tests we did was collected some blood samples, and we wanted to see if the chickens had antibodies for Gumboro.
Okay.
Right? After the chickens were vaccinated. And we found that each time the chickens were vaccinated, so the first vaccination I think should have been about day 10, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't done chicken in a while.
Right.
So about day 10, the chickens were supposed to be vaccinated. And so we collected blood a couple of days later to see if there were antibodies, because Gumboro only comes in after 3 weeks.
Okay.
So we had a window period to see if the chickens were protected.
Yes.
Right? After they were vaccinated.
Okay.
And the chickens read 0. No antibodies.
Wow.
So meaning the guys were not actually giving the vaccine. So the owner of the farm was buying the vaccines. But the guys were selling the vaccines.
My goodness.
So there in itself, biosecurity was breached,
Right.
and this gentleman lost quite a lot of chickens because of that. So,
Wow.
we cannot overemphasize the importance of biosecurity. For many farmers, they will sit and say, no, you see, I've been doing this for 10 years and I've never experienced this before. You see, with climate change,
yes,
different things have been happening. With climate change, there's also been what we call migratory birds.
Yes.
Moving in different directions. So if birds, when they're flying from northern Zambia, they would use Western Province as their route. But because they're not finding some of their fruits or what they eat in that route, they'll use another route.
Right.
And unfortunately, they might land on your farm with Newcastle disease virus.
Yes.
And if you don't vaccinate against Newcastle disease, then that'll be it for you.
The risk is huge.
Yeah. Now, speaking to zoonotic infections, so there are a couple. So, like we earlier emphasized or described, I should say, zoonosis is, or zoonotics are diseases that can be transmitted from animals to human beings and vice versa, human beings to animals.
Okay.
Now, in this particular case, if we look at food animals, there are several diseases that could be transmitted from animals to human beings.
Okay.
I mean, just last year, as a country, we reported quite a lot of cases of anthrax. So where were the anthrax cases starting from? They were starting from wildlife to domestic animals, then to human beings.
Okay.
How were they being transmitted to human beings? Through three routes. Number one, through inhalation. Number two, through ingestion. And number three, through the skin. Right? And, yes, we did have quite a lot of mortality, or we did have quite a lot of animals dying.
Yes.
But there was quite a lot of good work done by the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock, the Veterinary Department.
Okay.
The vets were there to prevent, human beings from contracting, the anthrax bacteria. So in that particular space, then you saw, the concept of One Health working very well, where the medics and the veterinarians came together to prevent the transmission of an animal disease to humans. Yeah.
Nice. Thanks so much for that. And can you just explain to us the connection between animal health and human health?
So, animal health and human health, which we've kind of explained in a bit, I think that the link there mainly has to be with zoonosis, right? So, when your animals are healthy, we will know that for food animals, right? If your food animals are healthy, you know that the consumers are going to be safe.
Yes.
If your food animals are not safe, then the consumers. So you will note that there's what we call meat inspection. So meat inspection is an activity conducted by veterinary professionals and also our colleagues in the public health space.
Okay.
Who then, before an animal is certified fit for human consumption, after slaughter, they will conduct particular post-mortem examinations. And if they don't see anything wrong with it, then they will pass the animal fit for human consumption. So, the diseases such as tuberculosis and the like, which actually affects cattle. So if we don't have meat inspection happening, then transmission of bovine or TB of cattle can be transmitted to human beings. So this then brings back to the relevance of the veterinarian.
Yes.
In the sense that the veterinarian then ensures that the human population is healthy by making sure that animals and pets stay healthy, that they don't infect human beings.
Nice. I like that. So I'd like for us to just speak into ethics within your space as well. Interesting to see that this aspect is also something that is kind of guarded within your space. Can you just speak into the aspect of any ethical dilemmas you may have encountered in your space, and how did you navigate that?
Okay, so it's important to mention that
as veterinarians, we do swear to the Hippocrates oath.
What's that?
So it's an oath which you swear that, you will perform your functions very professional,
Okay.
you will not do dubious things.
Yes.
So we swear to an oath, right? Similarly, like our medical counterparts.
Yes.
So we swear to an oath. Now, like in any profession, right? There's always things that will happen that kind of put you to the test.
Yes.
So, quick story. In 2014, I was working as a district veterinary officer in Chikankata.
Okay.
And there was an outbreak of African swine fever in Southern Province. So this is a disease that affects pigs. Now, these, the vet department from headquarters through the minister then issued a ban of movement of pigs from Southern Province to Lusaka in a way of preventing transmission of the disease. Now, what then happens then is, guys are very creative.
Yes.
You see, Lusaka still needed pigs, but Southern Province couldn't provide the pigs.
Yes.
And there was a huge market for pigs at the time. So what the guys would do is that, and I learned it at the time, when you give alcohol to pigs, they keep quiet.
What?
so what,
Who discovered?
so what the guys would do is buy chibuku,
Yes.
and the pigs would drink chibuku, and they'll put them on a truck
That's so funny.
together with the goats and sheep.
Right.
Now, what would then happen is that the pigs would be so drunk, so they'll be sitting,
Okay.
and the goats and sheep are standing. So you can't really see them. So I was a very fresh guy in government and whatnot. So one of my officers was reporting to me, comes through and says, Doc, the pigs in there. So what we needed to do was, we had to impound the vehicle, remove the animals, go to court, get a destruction order, destroy the animals. So there were about 60 pigs, and the owner approached me and just said, "Hey, kid, first things first, I can choose to make your life difficult by making this difficult by calling people I know.
Yes.
Or I can give you something." So I chose to be naive.
Yes.
And said, no, I can't.
Yeah.
So we went to court. So now when we went to court, the magistrate then gave the rights to the vet to decide whether the pigs were going to be donated to the prison or destroyed. Then I got wind to say that if the pigs were going to be donated to the prison, at some point they might find themselves with the guy because the guy was quite influential.
Yes.
We needed to give an example to other farmers to say we are controlling disease and we are doing this to save the country. So I made a decision to destroy the pigs.
Okay.
So we shot the 50 pigs and we burnt them. And while we were burning them, I was a celebrity for about a week because the ZNBC came through, I shot the video, and the vet department are controlling disease.
Yes.
It was amazing. And but it was an ethical dilemma in the sense that, people then started screaming, you are destroying people's livelihoods.
Yes.
But everybody knew that we're protecting the country as a whole, One of my other colleagues who I, kind of salute for what he did as well. We had a foot and mouth disease outbreak in trauma.
Okay.
And other people were still moving animals and when they shouldn't have. He went over and made a decision to destroy the animals. So he destroyed the animals and all over social media condemning him. No, these guys want us to starve. But at the end of the day, we are protecting the country. Two people breaking the law has an impact on putting hundreds and thousands of farmers out of business.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So those were some of the ethical.
Nice. It's good to learn history about.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'd like us to just speak into, some of the challenges and the future trends within the veterinary space. And the first question really is for you to just speak into some of the biggest challenges within the space today.
Okay.
What are you facing?
I think I will speak as myself.
Okay.
And not
broadly
for the profession. Personally, I've been very privileged. As a veterinarian, I've been privileged in the sense that I've had really good opportunities. But what I've seen on the other end is, you see, for some time, and when I gathered history, I found this out that it was in the KK era, in the Kunda era, where veterinary services were free. So it is then at the back of people's minds that when they get a veterinarian, they just won't pay. Because then the government would pay the veterinarian for all the services, and they paid the vets very well. So vets still go through scenarios of farmers not wanting to pay.
Okay.
And the other challenge that we have is with the internet, farmers feel that they can just Google stuff. But honestly, come on. I spent 6 years studying for my first degree.
Right.
I spent 2 years for my master's. I spent 4 years for my PhD. We can't compare that to a Google search.
Definitely not.
So we then seem to have quite a lot of people self-treating their animals, self-prescribing and whatnot. But I'm very happy at the moment to note that the Veterinary Council of Zambia is putting a hold to that.
Okay.
So people that are practicing illegally, people that are doing vet stuff that they're not supposed to be doing, I think this should also be sort of a warning to some dog breeders who, after keeping dogs for 3 years, feel like they have a vet degree.
Yes.
They can do stuff.
Yeah.
The council is really catching up. Yeah, so I think those have been the downsides to it.
Right.
But for me personally, I've had a great career.
Amazing.
Yes, I've had situations where people take you to their farm, they use you, they speak good English, and they don't pay. That's happened.
Right.
But all in all, I've had a great ride.
Okay, awesome. And how do you think veterinary medicine will evolve over time, say in the next 10 to 20 years? Are there any specific, strides that you're looking to see?
Yeah, so, worldwide, vet medicine is really evolving. And evolving in the direction that we need to prevent the human population from getting diseases that are coming from animals.
Yes.
And the frontline staff are the veterinary staff. So there's quite a lot of strides there globally and also in the country. But at the same time, as a country, we are making serious strides in ensuring that we have vets in all the relevant spaces of the industry, so that we provide the good service to farmers. When we talk about information technology, as vets also, we've been very involved in that. Personally, myself, I advise a team from Rhodes University. They've designed an app called the Buna Africa app.
Okay.
So Buna Africa is an aquaculture app that, with farmers, they're able to use that during their fish farming, and it provides advice, record keeping and whatnot. But through that, we also design what we call Buna Fish Health. So Buna Fish Health is a platform where you're going to load your problem and what you're seeing with your fish. Then it triggers an extension officer who comes to your farm.
Nice.
Then you get in touch with the vet like myself, who then offer advice to that. So the vet profession really is really growing, and unlike other professions, which with the advent of AI and other technologies will be wiped off, I think the last man standing will be the veterinarian.
I like that. So we're just gonna speak into, I know your space is quite demanding. There's a lot that you devote to the field and the practice. How do you balance the demands of your career and your personal well-being?
I think the balancing comes with maturity. Yeah, I would totally lie to you if I said from the word go I figured it out.
Yes.
It's one of those where as you are growing, you start learning responsibility and how to make everything impactful.
Yes.
I'm always telling people that if you go in a fight, you'd rather give a person one good punch
yes.
than give 50 punches that won't impact anything. So when I sit to work, I give it my best.
Right.
When I'm with my family, my kids, my wife, I give them the best. When I'm doing my work, I give it my best.
Yes.
So each time that I have to do what I have to do at the time, I just make sure that I'm giving it my best. But also, I think what's important to mention now is, for veterinarians, the type of support system that you have around you kind of matters.
Yes.
Reason being, our work is out there. It's either you're in the lab, you can't have your kids in the lab.
No.
It's either you're at the farm, you can't have your kids following you at the farm and whatnot. But if you have a very good support system around you that understands what you're doing for them and for the greater good, that offers a very, very easy way to kind of balance the two. But it's been a long, tough journey and still learning in progress.
Awesome. And what keeps you passionate about vet medicine after, practicing for all these years? You still speak with so much passion, and I'd like to just find out what keeps you passionate about the space.
I wish I could pinpoint to one thing, but I think what just keeps me passionate is, number one, my love for science. Number two, being able to wake up and know that my solutions to a problem have ensured that the business is still running.
Yes.
And people are still earning a living. And, the economy is still running.
Yes.
I'll give you a very simple example. So you have a farmer that comes to you and says, "Oh, Kunda, my fish are dying. If I don't find a solution to that problem, it will mean that 10 of his employees might lose their job."
Right.
And in Zambia, we know that one person is keeping about 7 other people.
Yes.
That's 70 people attached to one solution.
Individual.
Yes. And one solution that I have to bring to the table.
Right.
So that keeps me thinking and keeps trying to find solutions and,
Nice. And what advice would you have for somebody who would be considering getting in the vet medicine space? I know you have, mentored quite a number of individuals, a number of students, but what is that one piece of advice that you would give somebody who's looking to get in the space?
Okay, so one individual that's wanting to get into the vet space, first things first, patience. Unlike veterinarians in different parts of the world where, once you graduate, things just open up like that. In this part of the world, you really, really have to be patient.
Yes.
Right? Things happen, but they happen a little bit slowly. Number two, for an individual that wants to be a vet, you need to love your books.
Right.
I'm always telling students at the university that I lecture that your degree is not tattooed on your brain.
Yes.
all we do in university is to show you which textbook to find information in. Then once you've graduated, you can go back to the books and read again.
Right.
So you need to have a love to read. Number 3, I think very important that you love animals. You need to really love animals. I think one of the misconceptions that we need to break, and not just for people that are aspiring to be vets, but for every career.
Yes.
Don't go for money.
Okay.
Go for value.
Nice.
Money follows value. I think one of the things that are really heartbreaking that I see when I talk to kids and what they want to study, they always tell you, no, I want to study this because I want to make this type of money.
Yes.
But the thing is this, when you create value, and with value, it's not about the quantity of value, but the level of value.
Yes.
If you create high level value, people will come looking for you wherever you are in the world.
Nice.
That I can guarantee you. It's one of the things that I think has to be sent out to every young person. And it's very heartbreaking when I'm talking to kids and they will rightly tell you, I'm only doing this for money. But the thing is this, money is always there.
Yes.
Create the value and the money will come.
Absolutely. I love that. Awesome. So Kunda, I'd like to thank you so much for coming through to the Talent Plug podcast. This conversation has been real. It's been deep. It's been exciting. There's a lot that I didn't know about the vet space, and you've just brought everything to perspective. So really appreciate you coming through. So this has been another episode of the Talent Plug podcast. Stay inspired.